welcome to another edition of Moonhawk Studios Presents Sans Guest Edition. We're inside the studio today, so this will be the random hour of randomness hour. With me in the studio, as always, is my good friend Adam.
Hello.
You always sound like this is your very first show, even though we've been doing this damn near 15 years.
It's a gift.
Kevin's here.
Yep, here alive and kicking somehow.
Petty fans hanging around the cooler.
I did not, in fact, drown. More on that later.
And we've got another episode with the Golics.
Yep. I exist.
All right. I think, therefore, something. All right. Well, our goal is to entertain you tonight. I normally say we have a great show lined up for you, which is the traditional late night lie. But since we don't know what happened to our guests, and I have decided that in this day and age that I am going to be a little more magnanimous about when things go sideways, because I don't know everybody's circumstances.
And we don't want another incident of the house fire. We can talk about that now because it's been years, but it still is kind of fucked in the moment.
Yeah, let's not talk about it because there's other information that has to go along with that before we could even have a conversation, and I'd like to have that conversation off the air.
Valid.
But yeah, so as per usual, we have a period of entertainment we wish to dole out for you in our inimitable inside the studio fashion. But before we do that, let's get our weekly news out of the way. Adam, what have you got?
Nothing.
Kevin.
Yeah, same here. Nothing new. Betty.
I actually had some fun stuff happen over the weekend.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I did a try scuba diving class thing on Sunday, and it was really fun. I guess for a little bit of context on why this is kind of a little more interesting for me, for those of you who are new, I am physically disabled. I have spastic diplegia cerebral palsy. So my legs don't work well. But I was able to do the scuba thing just fine. I mean, I didn't have a whole lot of power in my legs to kick, but when I started swimming with my arms, it was no problem. So that was a fun experience I would try again. So yeah, that was my big old thing that happened over the weekend. And then next week, I basically get the house to myself for the most part, because my sister and mom are going to go see my older sister and her daughter in Texas and kind of spend a long Thanksgiving weekend down there. So technically my dad will also be here at the house, but since he works nights, as long as I don't wake him up, I don't have to deal with him. So I essentially get the house to myself. So, hooray! And yeah, I think that's it on my side.
All right, Alex.
I had a dentist appointment today, and then I got blood drawn for labs, and then I got my COVID shot and my flu shot. So, between dealing with three medical just being in medical situations, and the worst that I get from the shots is a little bit of soreness and possibly some fatigue. I'm tired.
I am tired.
I'll have a nap and then go fire the oh wait, you already did have a nap and then go fire the podcast. That's why it's midnight already here.
Yeah, we're just, like I said, we're without the guest, we're just kind of doing our thing. Must snooze that ad for 5 minutes because fuck ads.
That's a mood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else? I didn't mean to interrupt.
Not really. I'm just tired.
All right. Well, Brias and Kietra are off to Indiana, so everybody should have landed by now. I haven't heard anything from anyone, but I have the apartment all to myself, and I wasted no time in resetting everything, and now I'm hurting a lot. Not that I wasn't already hurting from 3 extra days of helping out in a way that I wasn't expecting to. Like, I was expecting to, push a dolly, maybe move a box or two. And this turned into a 3-day long ordeal where we were trying to make a mad dash to get them out of here in a timely fashion. Their friend Mai came down to bring a U-Haul truck to drive back to Indiana. And I did not think that they had enough stuff to fill a 10-foot U-Haul almost to the ceiling. Considering the fact that we are sharing a 1,000 square foot 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. I think they actually had more shit than I do. So yeah, this went from packing up boxes and getting the fuck out of Dodge on Saturday into deep into Sunday night. But we got everybody out of here, and like I said, I'm just waiting to hear back from everybody else as to how they're settling in and whatnot. I promised Verias that I wasn't going to bug her for the week, and I intend to make good on that. I did send a text message to Kietra, just making sure everybody got there intact, but have not heard back. So fingers crossed that everything is a-okay dokie, and we'll let you know more as this develops. But in the interim, like I said, I'm setting everything up. I've already done quite a bit of cleaning, trash purging, moving of furniture. I fucked up my right shoulder trying to move a sofa from the bedroom to the living room all by my lonesome, and then moving the existing living room sofa into an L-shaped position. The current living room sofa. I transposed a letter there. The current living room sofa is a hide-a-bed. It's like this. You could interpret it as a really wide chair or a very narrow love seat. I found some guy who was hauling it out to the street, and I said, hey, can I take that? Like, is that all messed up? And he's like, nah, go ahead. He says, I just don't need it. And because it was very unique, it's a twin bed. It's a twin hide-a-bed. I've never seen one this small before. I'm used to seeing at least or it's a single bed. I always forget the sizes here. It's what, single, twin, queen, king, California king. I don't know.
Something like that.
Ridiculous fetish dungeon size, heart shaped. Then you start getting into the really exotic stuff. I don't know. It was a single. So definitely very interesting. But I'm setting up the second bedroom as a sort of a display room. I've got a lot of unusual memorabilia and things from anime and different cartoons, shows, things I've grown up with, hats, sports teams I follow, things that are adjacent to my life. Just a lot of interesting stuff. Huh. Alina asks, were you Petty Fan? Were you ever involved in any aspect of the Stargate fandom?
Me? No.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know where you see Petty Fan's name as being familiar. I
I
believe
think she recognizes it, apparently.
yeah.
Maybe there is a Petty Fan in the Stargate community.
I guess he's a popular racer, or was.
Anyway, but yeah, so there's a lot going on with changes over. I've moved all of my scrolls in there, so I've got my Star Trek: The Next Generation scroll, my obscure piece of artwork that is signed, yet I cannot read the illustrator's name. It's a
I got this sweet wall scroll. It's signed by
yeah. Well, I got this.
the artist, we'll say.
I got this piece of cardstock artwork that was from a 1994 convention because it's signed 1994. It looks like a it's obviously unlicensed merch, but it looks like a recruitment poster for the Romulan Empire. And so it's just, when I was working at Bookman's, it was just something that I acquired, and it seemed neat, and it aligned with my interests. So I picked it up for like $3.
Romulus wants you.
Yeah, but it looks like it was silk screened on, or pressed into place using a Gutenberg. It's real primitive stuff from like 30 years ago. So I have this obscure piece of memorabilia that I have no way to cross-reference its origins other than this signature. It's probably a local artist. It's probably something that was acquired at Tucson Comic-Con or something like that. I think we do have various sci-fi cons here in Tucson, but but next year it'll be a 30-year-old piece of artwork. And I have no clue who actually created it, so I can give credit to it. So it's just little stuff like that. I found, new modern G.I. Joe figures on clearance at Five Below. Some weird little robot cars that are vaguely reminiscent of dollar store Transformers.
Ah, yes, Five Below, the hipster's Dollar Tree.
The what?
The hipster's Dollar Tree. Y'all are welcome for that.
Yes.
How would that even work?
As someone who knows someone who used to work at Five Below, that's exactly what it is. Like on the money.
My God. Hey, sometimes they
When
have
the
electronics
motherfucker
and
doesn't
games,
miss.
okay?
I mean, these days a dollar barely buys penny candy, so.
Ain't that the truth? So there's some unusual stuff. I found an Ohio State Buckeyes football banner. This is relevant to me because my dad still has on the GI Bill a year's worth of credits that he can use at either Ohio State or wherever the fuck the Arkansas Razorbacks play. Arkansas State? I don't know what the hell it's called. Anyway, I used to have rally caps for this. My dad acquired these like 25 years ago. He gave me a couple of hats and said, "Yeah, I almost went to both of these schools. I had a choice, and it's like, and I have to talk to him in person and ask him to remind me how that all went down. Like, why did he get those hats and all that stuff? Like, was he considering going back to school or whatever? Because this was right around the time he blew out his knees, and was forced to retire early from the phone company. And that's when he started making all of his moves and all that stuff, and really got the life that he and my mom enjoy moving, you know. So
Arkansas University, apparently,
Arkansas
or
University.
University of Arkansas, whatever.
Well, whatever it is, it was interesting because I had a Razorbacks hat and I had a Ohio State Buckeyes hat, and I, didn't think much of it, but I do remember this story, and every once in a while I recount it to people. I say, yeah, my dad has a year's worth of credits with that he could use at a couple of different universities, and these were his choices besides U of A. And obviously, I have U of A merchandise and all that stuff. The only thing I can tell you for sure is that the motif of the new studio, and this is through no planning whatsoever, is decidedly red. Which is why it's funny that the Ohio State banner is in there. And of course, I'm going to have to retire one of my University of Arizona shirts because it's a tiny bit threadbare. I have what I call my driving shirts. And so they're like, I have a red one and I have a really swank blue one, like a coach's shirt. That's really nice. Now, I personally am not an alumni of any of these places. They are merely significant to me because they are significant to people I care about. I want to clarify this, it's not quite stolen valor, but at the same time, people still look at it in askance, when you start waving banners of alma maters of which you are not. Kind of like why I don't wear my Navy Senior Chief's hat, because I'm not a Navy Senior Chief, nor did I serve in the Navy. It was a gift from my grandfather, who was an Army veteran, and that's it. It was just something he acquired and said, oh, here, take this. This is a cool hat. And I said, yeah. And then I realized it was an official Senior Chief's mesh ball cap. The kind they would actually wear on the deck of a ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Somebody gave me a gift, and I said, oh, no, I am not taking stolen valor. No, sir. I am not that guy.
Is it that if it's just a hat? I guess.
Apparently, people do weird stuff. They see this stuff. I want to talk about this for a minute because it's important to my dad. People see you wearing like surplus camo, certain official military hats, and things that resemble official military stuff, and they do weird shit. They'll give you discounts on stuff. They'll give you like military discount on stuff and so on and so forth. And there are people who make a personal cottage industry out of taking advantage of waving other people's bloody shirt.
Yeah.
And and it's called stolen valor. And I know Jon Stewart talks about this a lot, and there's a number of other entertainers who are advocates for veterans and stuff like that. Like I said, my dad served in the Army from 65 to 68. He was an E5 specialist, and then he became a drill instructor for the remainder of his time in the Army in Indiana, no less. I believe possibly at Fort Wayne. But the point is,
I hear they have a fort there.
Yeah, right. But the point is that it's important to my dad, and so by extension, it's important to me. So it's like I have these things, and I display a lot of it with context. I don't allow people to simply grant me privileges because I have a thing.
I think
You
to
know.
me, my personal standard would probably be more like if it has like an actual rank insignia or something.
This symbol is the anchor with the star
Yeah.
on top of it, and it says U.S. It is exactly the shape. It is the shape and coloration of the senior chief pin, of the lapel pin. It is a hat that I saw an actual senior chief wearing when he came to the store that I was working at to pick up his computer.
I don't know that much about it, but anyway. Also, my relationship to the military is at most my grandfather was in World War II.
Right. But like I said, my dad was active military. Boreas was Air Force. I can't swing a shoebox with the remains of my dead cats without hitting somebody that I know that has served or is with somebody that served. So I have and of course I grew up in a military town, a very heavy military town, you know, San Diego County. San Diego, Chula Vista, 32nd Street Pier, MCRD, North Island.
No offense, but none of that means anything to me, but I believe you.
Miramar, all of these different places, that are very important strategic locations for the United States of America. Salutes. Well, we didn't do a show for Veterans Day, so I'm just recounting a little bit about why these things are important to me. Having never served myself, I do write military science fiction, and getting it right is important to me. And so, I would never display military paraphernalia as collectibles. That's another thing I think is kind of important. Like, I have a bunch of unit patches and things that my dad gave me from his time in the Army, and that's something that, like, that's a personal display. That's not something that I would put on stream or anything like that, except like if I was doing like a show explaining things. So I don't consider anything that was actually worn by real life military personnel to be collectibles for my show. I don't know why that was so important to me to share, but I don't know. I had this feeling that I needed to talk about this. Anyway, but like I said, the studio is coming along nicely. It actually has an oddly unified motif to everything. I want to transfer my my strings of lights. I have Christmas tree lights. A lot of people, young kids, these fucking whippersnappers today, they get their fancy 98-foot roll of LED strips and plaster that to the upper corner of their room. Not this old boy. I use fucking Christmas tree lights that I got at the fucking thrift store for $1.
Are they
old-fashioned
LED
way?
bulbs, or are they incandescent?
Well, one string apparently is incandescent. The other string is LED. So
We'll be able to find out which is which when one of them catches fire.
Yeah. Well, I won't be putting it inside a wicker Christmas tree, so my room will
And
not
here
be...
we have Burning Man starting early this year.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's Fire
Make sure you don't put it in quicksand. Make sure you don't put it around quicksand.
Woohoo! Low rent Fire Fest.
Woohoo!
You wish you had low rent, Mac.
On the plus side, you don't have the budget where you even have to worry about using a disinfectant grade black lights for your lighting.
I I do have black lights though.
Right, but they're not disinfectant grade.
This is true. I was thinking about integrating one of them into this display that I have. Like I have one. Here's where it gets funny. I have one that I use for finding cat pee. There's I see Mac is oversharing tonight.
Why did
Now
you
he's
turn
still
Scottish?
undersharing. You all are.
It was a Craig Ferguson reference. I do believe we're oversharing tonight.
Those of you who are regular know Mac is full of shit. He's actually still probably undersharing.
No, I have two black lights. One that I acquired on purpose, and the other one that was gifted to me. And the one that was gifted to me, I use for finding things like. I have brown carpets in my apartment, so sometimes there's surprise cat yarf.
Yarp.
Yes.
The best kind.
Yes. That's my euphemism word for talking to Ralph on the big white phone.
Right.
But yeah, so I have a couple of black lights. I was thinking about hanging one over this Macross 2 poster that I have. I set it up really nice. Like the backdrop of this room is kind of cool because I've been thinking about it for months now. Like what I would do if I was suddenly roommateless and then the actual situation occurred. You know, so I've got my Zelda posters. I've got my Soray poster from the fuck was that Tales game? Tales of Zestiria. I've got a picture. I've got a picture of Lucia from one of them fucking Fire Emblem games that Jamie drew. It was a print she did for a con that I was particularly fond of, and she left it behind. There's just a lot of game related and anime related paraphernalia. And what's interesting is I'm setting this room up to be my streaming room for Picardo specifically, which I'm only really planning on doing one day a week. That, and I may start doing pre-recorded episodes of Max Mind for YouTube. I don't know if you guys remember me doing that show for a little while, but it was, I would do 10 or 15 minutes where I would just talk about. I would do a semi-scripted episode on my iPad of some issue of the day that was on my mind. It was a irregular thing where I would scribble down some notes and hold it above the camera on my iPad and just kind of talk off the cuff for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. No real structure per se. But I'd kind of like to do that again, and I thought it would be nice to have an official studio backdrop for that kind of stuff. I'm still, like I said, I'm still working out the logistics of all of it. The Picardo streams are going to be not safe for work. It's going to be commissions and things that I have owed for literally years now. And I just haven't had the space or the time to really give it the attention that it needed. And so it's like I still have some technical stuff I need to handle. Varius left me the i7 processor that she replaced with her 6900K. I think it's a 5820K or something like that, and it's older, but I've got a Machinist X99 motherboard coming in, and it'll replace the industrial piece of crap board that's in this machine, and hopefully give it some heft. And I found a GTX 970 for $69. It's still barely viable. The 900 series is almost on its way out, but apparently the 700 series, which I've been using on a lot of these machines, has gotten a temporary stay of execution from NVIDIA and received some updates.
5000 series got delayed, I believe.
Did it?
I believe that was, they haven't externally said, but I believe internally it did get a bit of a delay.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've kind of set this up real nice as kind of like a showcase / studio. I put the closet doors back up. I'm using that closet for storage. As you all know, my walk-in closet in here is being used for my VTubing studio and so on and so forth. So it's like I have different setups for different things that I'm doing. And when I'm podcasting, just sitting at my desk doing my thing here is fine. Or when I'm playing FPS shenanigans or whatever on Kick, having my gaming machine in close proximity to my desk in my primary room, just kind of works out. But yeah, it's like I've got a list of gear that I need to get to make all of this smooth. It's all saved on my eBay profile, and there's a couple of things on my throne still that I could really use some help on if anybody wants to contribute to that. Everything is set to crowdfunding, so there's nothing that you have to buy outright, although you can if you want to, I suppose. Uncolamant has bought a couple of items off of there, not the least of which is the sound panels, the sound dampening panels I'm going to be putting up. This apartment has acoustic ceilings, that sort of popcorn ceiling thing. So, what? I mean,
yeah, I know those ceilings. I hate them.
It's pretty much standard for the entire Southwest United States. So instead of having a
I
flat,
hope you enjoy your
Texture still good.
asbestos.
The texture just gives some people the Ghiblies just looking at it, though.
I mean, it does look like you're looking at a static pattern. When the light hits it a certain way. Yeah, it does look like you're looking at static on an old style TV.
Do we have to explain CRTs to the youngins now?
I mean, they still send that static to your HD TVs. So, if you're using an antenna like I am in the front room.
Yeah.
Yeah, but most of
Once upon a time,
stuff.
instead of just having little cells on your monitor that glow, they used to use technology that shoots high-speed radiation at a glass thing that glows when radiation hits it.
You YouTube SAS now?
I don't know. I'm just kind of letting Galax run over everybody right now.
Oh, no, that's just a humorous, quick description of CRT technology.
Indeed.
All right. Well, you see now,
they aimed it with magnets, and one of those magnets that was required had a battery that maintained such a charge that if you tried to disassemble it carelessly, you could kill yourself, even if it was completely unplugged.
And if you punctured the tube the wrong way, it would implode and then explode.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you puncture the tube, if you puncture the tube in any way, it would implode.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because it's a vacuum.
Right.
Yep. And you could end up with pieces of glass shot at your ass through the front.
Pieces of glass shards with phosphorescent coating on them.
Yeah. Phosphorus, cadmium, and mercury.
Which I'm sure is great when it gets injected directly into your skin via shards of glass.
Now, Galax, you have to be accurate about this. The phosphorus was the coating that's sprayed on the tube side that is the display, so that it reacts with the electrons that are fired off the electron guns.
Right.
The cadmium and mercury, I don't even know what the fuck that's for. But it's in there.
I bet Google knows.
I remember my friend Mark and I were moving out of an apartment. I lived with my friend Nathan in San Diego, and we were living in this 2-bedroom, 2-bath. 14. We had this beautiful, quote unquote luxury apartment off of Dennery Road, which meant which is a quaint way of saying that it's a real nice apartment, but you get the entirety of the 805 freeway noise.
Mhm.
And at the time, we were getting it for what was considered a song of only $1,250 a month in San Diego County. That same apartment goes for $3,500 a month now. But we were moving out of there in the summer of 2003, and my friend Mark came over and was helping us move out. And we were trying to carry out a Sony Trinitron TV, a 27-inch TV that I had acquired that I was going to get repaired. And then we dropped the fucker.
Well, rest in peace, Repair Act.
Yeah, the tube cracked and we got blasted in the face with the escaping phosphorus.
Oh boy.
Like there was a cloud of it and we were staggering around for about 20 minutes. Do not fuck with that stuff, kids. You may go fucking blind and you will definitely get high and not a good high.
No.
The kind of high that you don't want at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a healthy respect and fear of cathode ray tube televisions now. I have one still in my possession. It's a 27-inch Panasonic True Black that my late grandmother bequeathed to me. My parents gave it to me, and I've had it for quite a while, and it has made it across country twice with me. So I keep it because the picture tube quality is phenomenal, and it runs fantastically well with my retro gaming consoles. But yeah, just a lot of setup and reorganizing my life for bachelorhood once again. At almost 47, I am once again starting over. So, honestly, though, a number of people have asked me, so are you going to downsize? Are you going to move to a smaller place? Are you going to do this? You're going to do that? I don't really have the means to move right now. I got so many open collections. They're now starting to offer me phenomenal deals, by the way, to resolve this. But it's like, I've got so many open collections now that my credit score, let's just say they probably already would have put me in the gulag in China for having too low of a reputation score. Because credit scores are the closest thing the U.S. has to anything like that. It determines whether or not you can get a bank loan, you can get a mortgage, credit cards, buy a decent car, and get good interest rates. Even get quad pay on Newegg, for items that you may need for your computer to keep yourself online. Opening a bank account now requires a good credit score because they factor in bank account activity, overdrafts, and so on and so forth into credit worthiness. There's so many different things now that are part of our indirect reputation score that determine whether or not you can do certain things in this life. And I'm playing the fuck around and find out game the hard way on virtually all of this. But I'm getting there. But I can't move. But that's okay. I mean, because, relative to the so-called market value of my apartment, I'm actually paying a substantially lower rate. They've estimated that it's about $1,200 to $1,300 or more, and I am scheduled to pay starting in February. I'm about $1,089. I've always made good money with Uber and Lyft. My begging, borrowing, and stealing is because when you start with $60,000 worth of leftover debt between car and mistakes that I made with my ex and so on and so forth, it's a pretty deep hole to dig yourself out of. And I got really sick during the pandemic. Like, I don't know how close I came to death. That's the question mark over my head, because people who appeared to be younger and much more healthy than me got COVID and died. You know, the aforementioned friend Mark, I found his obituary online a year after he had passed away.
Damn.
Yeah, there was nobody there to inform me. Nobody else knew who I was. He didn't talk about his life to anybody except me occasionally, you know, and whatever other close friends he was palling around with. So, you know, there's a regret. I didn't get a chance to spend more time at least talking to him. I should have emailed him or something, but it just never occurred to me. So, you know, so I got very, very sick, and it really altered my ability to will myself past my ADHD difficulties, because one of the long COVID effects apparently is crippling anxiety, and I already had crippling anxiety to begin with. So, you know, in the immortal words of James T. Kirk, double dumbass on you. You know, fuck COVID. Holy shit. It's not even funny. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or anything like that. I'm just stating this is the reality of my situation. I was doing like 700 to 1,000 a week, you know, $4,000 a month. I was on track to do $45,000 just off of Uber in 2020, and I got sick, and I have never fully recovered from it. I've had breathing problems. I've had COPD like symptoms, even though I don't have COPD. They gave me a clean bill of health. They did extensive blood work on it because because it had been. I have not had a checkup since I was 23 years old. I had my first general maintenance doctor visit at 45. Pre-diabetes has set in. I have reversed quite a bit of it, and gotten I have been keeping my glucose levels in the safety zone. So I believe it's in remission now. I've lost 44 pounds. No, 47. My peak was 318. I am now 271 pounds. So, you know, just a lot has happened since February. I'll say that much. But you know, the pandemic has been hard. The pandemic was hard. I was terrified to drive for the longest time for fear that in my weakened state that I would succumb to another variant of COVID and actually die that time. And this is not something that I have openly shared with a lot of people. So now I'm sharing it with the general public at large. You know, I really thought I was done for, and that because of the fact that this was the only job that I was capable of doing besides, you know, trying to make a go of streaming, which took a little while for us to find our footing, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Just a little.
To get the show back online, you know, to figure out what games to play and which channels were the best for each thing and how much time I wanted to dedicate to each thing. The VTubing thing has actually been working pretty well. And I hope to expand on that. because I like playing the characters. And it's like I want to get some more of the things on my wish list so that way I can do so more adequately. But once we come back from hiatus, because doing this show and the MMO Mondays during my hiatus is actually, first of all, Blue Mondays is a joyous burden, if you will. It's something that me and Shadows Mist have been doing for a while now, and we've been friends for over 20 years. And she introduced me to the game, and it's not really work. It's like, well, except like this week, was fucked because first her ISP shit the bed and we couldn't get the show going. And then at midnight, my ISP shit the bed because they decided that they were going to cool down the nodes at midnight. That's what they mean when they're doing maintenance, is they shut off the nodes so they don't have to replace all the ports at a cost of hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Because that's just how wonderful our internet backbone infrastructure is in this country, folks. They have to literally shut down the transfer nodes for several hours to cool them off so they don't burn out, instead of just putting better technology in the ground. So that whole thing was scuffed. I was in the middle of a sentence. I was doing something with our friend Riker, and we were going to go off to a mission, and then all of a sudden I was like, so anyway, we're going over to, and nobody can hear me.
And he died. Well then.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. But there's going to be a lot of stuff going forward. For now, I'm going to stick with 4 days a week on Up Late with Mace. I've gone to degenerate hours, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And then I want to add a Call of Duty mobile stream on Kick on Saturdays. So I'm going to do a kind of back-to-back thing where I'm going to do in the late afternoon, I'm going to do a solo FPS shenanigans. I may get our friend Leora to join me in playing Call of Duty Mobile. In which case I'll do some duos, but it'll mostly be me decompressing playing Battle Royale. Nuking fools with my Bluetooth controller on my iPhone. It's the only Call of Duty game I'm any good at. All the other ones, everybody is just like, yep, you got sniped from 40 miles away. Okay. Fucking campers. Toxic Warzone people. Call of Duty Mobile, I don't turn on voice, I don't turn on chat. I don't let people talk to me. It's like, you want me to do something, make hand gestures at me, otherwise fuck off. And they have a lovely little on-screen menu. You just hold the screen down and a little ring pops up and you can make a gesture at somebody. I got my screen magnifier. It's going to be great. Everything's going to be great. And then, as I said, I'm going to be doing Not Safe for Work streams on Picardo. I think even if I had more information that I wanted to share, there's going to be some stuff. We're going to bring back the verified art stream. Obviously, we're hoping next week that Varias and I can resume FPS shenanigans. If not, then I will try to get together with Alina and Gunshin at 5 p.m. Pacific on Monday for some Paladins. And then we'll see who's up for Overwatch 2 on Friday. But yeah, ideally, I'm not starting anything until the week of the 19th. I have posted my new VTubing schedule, and it has some overlapping items with the other channel here. I posted it on TikTok and on X. So check that out, so that way you can see what I'm planning to do going forward. And like I said, the Picardo art streams are officially tied to Uplate with Mace, but it's really going to be general commissions. So whatever you hired me for, if it has a not safe for work element, I will probably be working on it on that stream. That's pretty much it. All right, so I did promise that we were going to talk about entertainment because we have a strike wrap up to talk about before Thanksgiving, because we are off next week. So I don't know if you guys want to get started on that. Let's give it a go.
Well,
Where
well,
to start?
There's been a complication.
Oh dear.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's just say that the AI provisions are not as strong as they should be.
Oh.
Well, basically, essentially, first of all, they pretty much made it clear. They've made it clear that people can basically be passed on for jobs if they don't agree to consent to having their image used, and the only real leverage that anybody would have in terms of AI being abused is only monetary, and not really anything more than that.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and among other things, and it's pretty complicated, but really essentially, it's not necessarily a tight defense against AI, and has loopholes aplenty to bust through these guardrails that they claim that they put up. And let's just say that the voice acting community, which is the community that's getting the biggest effects from AI right now because of the voice farms and stuff like that, they're not happy.
Okay. Let me stop you for 1 second here, because I need to clarify something that our listeners may not be 100% clear on. So SAG-AFTRA has gone ahead and approved a union contract with the live action motion picture industry. So that means that movies and general television can resume. However, there is still an ongoing negotiations because of animation and video games, and that's what
particularly video games. But yeah,
that's basically
there are
what
movies
we're
and
talking
television. Well, the movies and television actors are part of the overall SAG-AFTRA agreement that we're talking about right here. So it's not just the voice actors are just relegated to the interactive media agreement. There are voice actors that are part of the SAG-AFTRA agreement that we're talking about here, which is the main one.
Right, but what I'm saying is some work has begun as far as like live action stuff, but we're still hammering out some details in these sort of outlying areas, which does overlap. But
yes, there is work that is starting.
I want to clarify this to avoid confusion, because some people may not be aware.
Right. There is productions that are starting back up because of this tentative agreement, but there is a lot of pushback happening right now, and to be quite frank with you, SAG-AFTRA leadership is not doing a very good job of trying to explain the issue.
Right.
Because there's been a lot of attacking of the messengers on this. There's a lot of, well, you can't get rid of AI, and trying to tamp down the concerns, the legit concerns.
Adam, we're getting a feedback from you.
We are?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what that's about.
And but yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is that the people who are very much knowing of the damage that AI can do because they're dealing with it right now are looking at these AI provisions in this in the summaries that they put out because they're not going to put out the full agreement until after it's voted upon,
Mm-hmm.
which is really not a good thing because you might be voting for something that might hurt you later.
Right.
And they're saying, "Wait a minute, I don't know about this."
Yeah, we're
And
gonna, Kevin, whenever you talk, Adam feedbacks on you. So I'm going to ask a quick question here, not trying to derail anything here. But Adam,
Okay.
do you use headphones or speakers?
Speakers?
Okay. So certain frequencies, I notice sometimes when I emphasize certain words and things like that, I get feedback from you. So your microphone is not isolated from your speakers?
I mean, it is.
Well, obviously not, because you're feedbacking.
Just have to adjust some alignments here.
I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna send you send you a Temu invite code, so that way you can get some really nice headphones on the cheap.
No,
Why not?
I am not getting those.
You don't do headphones?
Nope.
Okay.
but yeah, anyway, yeah.
Anyway, moving
So
on.
yeah, that's what's happening here. Personally, I don't feel as though it's going to be a big enough big enough opposition to reject this agreement. It probably will make it much more narrower than it otherwise would have been. Probably would have been a lot more in terms of the approval, if not for this. I think there'll be a big enough to where this will be probably 50 to 55 for and 40 to 45 against, somewhere around there. That's my personal belief at this point. But if this does lead to the deal going down, it would not shock me in the least. But I don't see it happening. I think there's just too many people who want this to be over with and want to move on from this. And if indeed shit goes down with AI, then we all look back on it in 3 years at this point. So, but yeah, that's my firm belief right now. I think that everybody just wants to get back to work. Everybody just wants to at least get some work going here because and maybe.
And to be clear, it does have provisions that say you can't do such and such with AI. It's just there are tons of caveats.
Yeah, there's caveats. There's called
Loopholes.
Exceptions.
Exceptions, yes, exceptions. There's there's language that suggests that if indeed your image is abused, that all you have as leverage is monetary damages, which really isn't going to be enough when they're going to be using it for whatever they want to. So yeah, there's a lot of issues here, and we'll see what happens. I firmly expect this to event go through, but it is a major 11th hour complication, and it's been the issue that has dominated all of these union discussions this year, and will dominate the discussions next year with IATSE and the Animation Guild.
Yeah, we had in one of the Star Trek groups that I'm part of, somebody brought up an interesting notion that in the 24th century world of Star Trek: The Next Generation, they have holodecks, and they said essentially holodecks are AI generated content, and they said it's funny that in the utopia of the Federation that people using AI for entertainment is not a problem. And I said, well, there is a reason for that, and that is because they are a socialistic utopia. Whereas,
Also, they literally had an episode where Jordy got in trouble for making a holodeck simulation of a real person and dating it.
yeah, and Quark tried to make an illicit model of Major Kira and so on and so forth. And they talked about some of the ethical ramifications of being able to recreate actual people. But
Also, that's not the same kind of AI.
okay. Anyway,
Just noting that.
yeah. Anyway, my point is that in that particular world, they are not a capitalistic society. We are. And that's why these issues are so important, is because
Right.
someone is attempting to profit off of someone's likeness
Right.
and their reputation in perpetuity. In the world of Star Trek: The Next Generation, your reputation is your currency. So if you create a holo novel, somebody does something in your name but gives you credit as the originator of the idea, then it boosts your reputation as long as it's not salacious in nature. So anything that boosts your reputation is your currency. They did a very excellent explanation of this kind of economy in the Orville. Less about holographic technology and so on and so forth, and more about how people get ahead in a society that doesn't use money. But we here in the craptastic capitalistic dystopia of the world that we live in right now actually have to concern ourselves with this issue, because when somebody piggybacks on your labor, they are essentially stealing from you. And that's what the studios want to do, is they want to be able to piggyback on they want to be able to pay you a one-time fee, which by itself for a single use would be fine. Notice how I put that. But that's not what they're intending to do with it. They want to use it forever, for whatever noble and or nefarious purpose. They want to resurrect dead people, and they want to, this goes back to the old Orphaned Works Act that comes up every 6 or 8 years, where they're like, oh, we need access to all this stuff so that way we can create new things based on old stuff, and it's all about preservation. Well, that's what the fucking National Archive is for, Spielberg. Shut the fuck up and sit down.
Yeah. And if you think about it, a lot of the estates for celebrities don't necessarily give a damn about the reputation of and what the person that they're supposedly representing believed in life.
Right.
All they care about is making money by whatever means necessary. And if that means doing AI holographic bullshit, so be it.
Right.
So that's why when you see like stuff like in this temporary agreement, it's like a representative from the dead celebrity can agree to it or not, and the union could, and if there's not available, the union can agree to it or not. It's like, do you really trust them?
Right.
To be in your best interest? Because they can easily go and decide to say yes in order for money.
Yeah. And there's people who want to do like old Disney, where they want to mine the public domain for stuff that they can profiteer off of in perpetuity, with little or no repercussions, and they want to force other things into the public domain, like people's individuality. And that's and unfortunately, if we were a reputation-based society where we could exchange our goodwill for things like housing and a replicator and just basic necessities of life and comfort, sure. Oh yeah, my landlord totally takes reputation credits. Fuck money. Who needs money, right? But we don't live in that world.
No.
We live in the world
we don't.
where cold, hard fucking cash does all the talking. The money talks and bullshit walks. And this is bullshit.
Absolutely. Yep, to the nth degree. Yes.
What it basically boils down to. So, until we're in that society, we can't have nice things like holodecks. You know,
No.
without
No,
some
because
kind of restrictions.
yeah, because the important thing is consent, and despite what the studios are probably going to want, you're not going to be able to force consent. And the question then is going to be, if indeed you have situations where a lot of low-level, mid-level actors and actresses, both voice and on camera, reject the concept of consenting to AI, and the studios decide not to hire you for things, and you're suddenly blacklisted. Yeah, that's going to be a problem, and the union is going to have to show that it's going to protect them in that kind of situation. Because if they don't, it's going to be a case of, well, why you needed that? Like, what are you for?
And that's
For
not,
because
and that's not what we need right now. We
No,
definitely
no,
do not
we
need to
don't.
weaken unions in any way, shape, or form.
No. Exactly, and that's the issue here. It's that that's the fear, is that you're going to have a situation where, yes, you have probably the A-listers and the B-listers getting supported by the union in this type of situation, but for people at like the C level and lower, who aren't the big names, aren't the people that everybody to a T knows, they might get lost in the shuffle and get put in the cold simply because they didn't want to commit to having pretty much selling their soul, essentially. So, but that's the big worry here, and that's the worry of a lot of people who are looking at these AI provisions and going, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Because they have their livelihoods and their futures to think about.
I don't feel good, Mr. Stark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and make no mistake, the industry is Ultron in this situation.
Yep, absolutely. Oh God.
Yeah.
Wait, Ultron?
Yeah.
Like God Almighty, the people who are running Hollywood right now, I wouldn't trust myself with them for a goddamn second. Particularly the individual that's running the Warner Brothers right now.
Well, I also won't want to be in his shoes when the FTC comes a knocking.
Yeah.
Maybe if they do, I don't know, but it's like, because that thing got accelerated within the last week. If we have time for that, or unless you want to save that for after Thanksgiving.
I think saving that for after Thanksgiving is a good idea.
Yeah, because that'll take another.
It's already 15 after 1.
Yeah,
I was,
and that discussion. Yeah.
Well, moving on really quickly here. That you invoked the name of Warner Brothers. Amusingly, thing that did happen this week. Apparently, they were going to shelve another movie for $30 million and in tax credits,
exactly
and that
what
got
he's talking
reversed.
about.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, and if we talk about it, it will go on for another hour, and I don't think anybody wants that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
do have other stuff I need to do, including sleep.
Yes.
All right, so we'll talk about that after the break. So put a pin in that for now. But that discussion definitely needs to happen.
Yeah, especially considering that by that point we might get a little bit more clarity on things, hopefully. So yeah, we'll save it for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, for the moment, that film is back on.
Yeah, for the moment. But yeah.
All right. Well, I hope we had a productive chat tonight. I hope our guest is okay and nothing untoward came up, and we'll hear from them soon. Maybe reschedule them for sometime after the break. But in the meantime, let me give you a little heads up on what we're going to be doing. November 29th, we have Cameron Suey of Observable Radio, a found footage anthology podcast of retro sci-fi and analog horror. And Adam, did you have any additional insight into that website?
It's not
blog?
it's a podcast.
Right.
It's a it's a fairly new production.
Mm-hmm.
Though they did just drop another couple of episodes during the spooky season. it's certainly interesting, if nothing else. It's the kind of thing I like bringing onto the program because it's something we haven't encountered before. You know, in this particular form, if that makes sense.
Okay. And
Like-
then, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I'm good.
And then one I'm looking forward to is on December 6th, we're going to have GPF, General Protection Fault, on the show, which is one of the oldest sustained webcomics still around.
Yep. I'm like, though I do believe it's in its final arc. Now, granted, I haven't actually personally read GPF in like, nearly 20 years.
Uh-huh.
Now, granted, I forget exactly when I fell off of it, but it was sometime in the mid 2000s. But, I definitely remember reading it about 20 years ago.
Right.
And, it's been going since 1998.
To give people some
So-
perspective, the only comic that, one of the few comics that was older than that, I mean, I think Schlock Mercenary started in 1997, as did Nukies. And then the grandpappy of all, Polymer City Chronicles, pretty much ended its run in 2007. But
Yep.
rumor has it it's back in a
I
reboot.
mean,
Yeah,
it's back in a pog form.
really.
Fuck off.
But anyway, we've got some pretty good lineup going into the Christmas holiday. So I'm looking forward to the guests that we have coming up for, to kind of round out our year. And then we'll have new episodes starting January 3rd after that. So much to look forward to. Much to look forward to. But want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and for our viewers who, our diehard viewers who tuned in spite of the lack of guests. And hopefully we'll see you next time. And again, we're going to be off next week, and we'll be back November 29th. So be there, be square. Until then, I'm your host, Mac Paladin. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, kids.